Brandon Stark woke as if yanked from the depths by a hook set in his ribs. Air tore into his lungs, sharp as cold iron, and for a moment he did not know where he was. Only that stone pressed close, that night clung to him, that something had happened in a place high above the yard where the wind tasted of snow. He scrambled backward in the bed until his shoulders hit the wall, blankets tangling around his legs. His heart hammered so hard it made his ears ring. He could still hear it. The soft scrape of leather on stone, a woman's breath, a man's voice low and urgent. He could still see the flash of pale skin in the torchlight when the door cracked open. "Maester," Bran croaked, and the word came out wrong, thick with sleep and panic. Maester Luwin was there almost at once. A candle lantern swung in his hand, making the shadows in the chamber lurch like frightened things. "My prince," he said softly, because the maester always spoke softly when boys woke afraid. "It is only morning. You have had a nightmare." It wasn't a nightmare. Bran's fingers clawed at the blanket. He was ashamed of how small his voice sounded, how it shook. "It happened. I saw it." "Hush now." Luwin's chain glimmered at his throat. Bronze and black iron and gold, each link a different promise. Promises did not stop knives. Promises did not make kings gentle. "What did you see?" Bran's tongue felt too big for his mouth. The words were stones he could not lift. He looked toward the door, and Hodder stood there with his big shoulders hunched, as if trying to take up less space. Hodder's brow was furrowed with concern. He did not know what fear this was, but he recognized fear all the same. Then the door opened wider and Catelyn Stark stepped in, hair unbound, a wool robe pulled tight at her throat. Her eyes went straight to Bran's face, and the color drained from hers. "Bran," she whispered. He swallowed. The taste of last night. Smoke and spilled wine from the feast, roasted meat, laughter, turned sour in his throat. "Mother," he said, and if he had been a braver boy, he would have stopped there. If he had been a wiser boy, he would have held his tongue until his father was alone. But he was neither brave nor wise. He was a child with a secret like a burning coal in his hands. "I need father," he said. "Now." Catelyn's gaze flicked to the maester. Luwin hesitated only a heartbeat. He had served Winterfell long enough to know when a child's fear was not a child's fancy. "I will send for Lord Eddard," he said, and moved to the door. No, Bran's hand shot out, gripping the maester's sleeve. His fingers were small. The grip was desperate. Not a servant. Not loud. Just him. Just father. Catelyn's mouth tightened. "Hodder," she said, and Hodder shifted, uncertain. "Go to Lord Eddard Stark. Quiet. Tell him Bran is awake and asks for him. No one else." "Hodder," Hodder agreed, and lumbered away. Catelyn came to sit beside Bran's bed. The candlelight made new lines around her mouth. She put a hand to his hair as she had when he was smaller, stroking once, twice. "What is it?" she asked. "What has frightened you so?" Bran stared at the blanket. If he looked at his mother's eyes, he might lose his courage. "I climbed," he whispered. Catelyn's hand stilled. "Bran, I know I shouldn't have." The words tumbled out, as if the confession itself might save him. "But I did. I climbed up the broken tower. I wanted to see. I wanted..." He did not even know what he had wanted. He had wanted the world to be higher and wider than Winterfell, that was all. He had wanted to be a wolf in the sky. Catelyn's voice was thin. "And what did you see?" Bran's throat tightened until it hurt. "I saw Queen Cersei Lannister," he said, "and Ser Jaime Lannister, together, in the tower. They were..." His cheeks burned. He had words for it only in the way boys had words, half-learned and half-guessed. They were doing something they shouldn't. Like husband and wife. Catelyn did not move. She did not breathe. For an instant Bran wondered if he had killed her with the words alone. Then the door opened again, and Eddard Stark entered like a man stepping into a snare he could not see. His hair was tousled from sleep. His face was shadowed with beard. He took one look at Catelyn's expression, One look at Bran's shaking hands, and all softness left him. He crossed the room in 3 long strides and knelt beside the bed. "Bran," Eddard Stark said, and his voice was steady enough to hold a bridge up. "Tell me." Bran told him. He spoke quickly, stammering at first, then faster as the fear drove him. He told of the climb, the door, the voices, the moment the Queen's face turned and her eyes found him. He told of Ser Jaime Lannister moving like a cat, of hands on his shoulders, of the cruel calm in the man's voice. "You shouldn't have been there," Eddard Stark said when Bran finished, but there was no anger in it, only the bleak weight of consequence. His eyes went to Catelyn. "No one else heard this?" "Only us," Catelyn said. Eddard Stark held Bran's gaze. "Did Ser Jaime Lannister see you?" Bran nodded, small and miserable. Eddard Stark closed his eyes for the space of a single breath, as if praying to gods old and new. When he opened them again, they were darker. "Stay here," he told Bran. "Say nothing to anyone. Not Robb, not Sansa, not Arya, not even your sisters. Do you understand?" "Yes, father," Bran whispered. Eddard Stark stood. His shoulders looked heavier than they had a moment before, as if someone had hung a wet cloak on them. "Maester," he said, and his tone made it a command without volume. "Send for King Robert Baratheon. Tell him his presence is requested in the tower chamber where Bran lies. Do not shout it. Do not make it a spectacle." Maester Luwin blinked. "My lord, the king." "Now," Eddard Stark said. Catelyn's fingers gripped the bed frame. "Ned," she whispered. "What will you do?" Eddard Stark looked at his wife, and for an instant Bran saw the man beneath the lord, the one who had laughed once, long ago, when winter seemed far away. Then that man vanished behind duty. "What honor demands," he said, "and what survival requires." King Robert Baratheon came with the smell of ale still on him, as if the feast clung to his skin. He filled the doorway the way storms fill the sky, big, loud, unavoidable. 2 guards trailed behind him, and somewhere farther back came the faint jingle of spurs. "What is this, Ned?" Robert demanded as he entered, though he lowered his voice the moment he saw Bran's face, pale above the blankets. The king's brows drew together. Beneath the bluster was something human. Concern sharpened by guilt, perhaps, because Robert had been fond of the boy in the loud, careless way he was fond of all things bright. Bran swallowed. His mouth was dry. He wanted to crawl under the blankets and become invisible. Eddard Stark did not bow low, did not flatter. He only said, "Bran has something to tell you, Your Grace. Something that concerns the realm." "The realm?" Robert snorted, but his gaze stayed on the child. He stepped closer to the bed, and the fur on his cloak brushed Bran's hand like an animal's pelt. "Well then," Robert said, softer now. "Out with it. What have you seen, boy?" Bran's eyes flicked to his father. Eddard Stark gave the smallest nod, a permission that was also a sentence. Bran's voice came out thin. "I climbed the broken tower," he said. "Last night." Robert's mouth twitched, half a smile, half a scowl. "A climber, are you? Like your father in his youth, eh?" Then the smile faded as Bran continued. "I saw Queen Cersei Lannister," Bran said, "and Ser Jaime Lannister, together, in the tower. They were..." His cheeks went red again. "They were like man and wife." For a heartbeat, the room held its breath. Then King Robert Baratheon laughed. One of those booming laughs that made walls feel too small, except this laugh had no joy in it. It was a sound like a weapon striking stone and throwing sparks. He took one step back as if the words had shoved him. "Ned," Robert said, and his voice had changed. The warmth was gone. What remained was iron. "Tell me this is a child's fancy." Eddard Stark met his gaze without blinking. "My son has never lied to me," he said, "and he is frightened." Robert's face reddened. His hands curled into fists. "Jaime Lannister," he said slowly, tasting the name like something rotten. "My wife's brother." The words dragged across his teeth. Catelyn Stark's hand tightened on Bran's shoulder. Bran wished he could take the words back, shove them back into his mouth and seal his lips. Robert turned, sudden as lightning, and for a moment Bran thought the king might smash the nearest chair just to hear it break. "Where is she?" Robert demanded. "Where is the lioness?" Eddard Stark stepped in front of him, not as a subject before a king, but as a wall between a raging beast and a fragile thing. "If you roar, she will bite," Ned said. Robert's eyes flashed. "Do not tell me how to deal with my wife. I am telling you how to keep your head on your shoulders," Eddard Stark replied, and there was a knife-edge calm to it. Queen Cersei Lannister came north with men. Sir Jaime Lannister came with the Kingsguard. There are Lannister guards within these walls. If you move without care, Winterfell becomes a battlefield before sunset. Robert's breath went hard. He looked from Ned to Bran to Catelyn, and something in his expression shifted. Anger still, but now with understanding. Robert was not subtle, but he knew war. He knew what it meant to strike at a lion's cubs. "Jon Arryn is dead," Robert said suddenly, as if the thought had been waiting behind his tongue all along. "Dead. And I didn't even get to say goodbye." He was digging into something. Wasn't he? Gods. I remember him squinting at ledgers like they might confess. His gaze sharpened. Is this what killed him? Eddard Stark did not answer at once. In the silence, the fire snapped. Outside, wind moaned through a crack in the shutters like a warning. "I do not know," Eddard Stark said finally, "but I know this. If you strike at Queen Cersei Lannister openly, House Lannister will strike back, and they will not care how many innocents bleed." Robert's jaw worked. "She has mocked me in my own bed," he said, voice low. "If what you say is true, if the Kingslayer has been rutting my queen." Eddard Stark held up a hand, firm. "If you kill her here, your grace, you die here," he said. "And you take my house with you." Robert stared at him. The old friendship was there, buried beneath years of politics and drink and disappointment, and it surfaced now like a swimmer breaking ice. "What do you propose?" Robert asked, and the question sounded like a man swallowing his pride because he had to.
Eddard Stark leaned closer.
"You act as if nothing is wrong until you can act as if everything is under your control," he said. "You summon your Kingsguard quietly. Not all will be loyal to you against one of their own, but Barristan Selmy will. So will some others. You summon my vanguard. Quietly, you take Queen Cersei Lannister, her children, and Sir Jaime Lannister into custody with as little blood as possible." Robert's lips peeled back from his teeth. "Into custody," he repeated, as if tasting a foreign word. "Alive," Eddard Stark said. "Alive, so the realm can see that the king did not murder his own queen in a fit of rage. Alive, so you can learn what else you do not know." Robert's eyes drifted to Bran. The boy's face was pale as milk. The king's rage softened for an instant, turning into something like shame. "Did he threaten you?" Robert asked Bran. Bran nodded, and his throat tightened again. Robert's hands trembled. He forced them still. "All right," he said. "All right, quiet, like a wolf stalking a deer." His gaze locked on Ned. "But if she runs?" "She will not run," Eddard Stark said. "Not if we move first." Robert inhaled, exhaled. Then he said, "Summon Lord Commander Barristan Selmy. Summon my Kingsguard. No horns, no shouting. If word reaches the queen before I put her in chains, I will hang every two. Hang you in Winterfell." Catelyn Stark flinched, but Eddard Stark only nodded. "It will be done," he said. Robert stepped to Bran's bedside again. His voice dropped, rough and strangely gentle. "You did a brave thing," he told the boy, "and a dangerous thing." He stared at Bran as if trying to carve the child's face into memory. "Keep breathing, lad. The realm needs witnesses more than it needs heroes." Then the king turned and strode out, and the air he left behind felt colder than before. Winterfell's halls were never silent. Not truly. Even in the small hours, stone held echoes the way snow held tracks. Somewhere a servant laughed, muffled behind a door. Somewhere a dog barked once and fell quiet. Somewhere in the yard, men cursed as they hauled away the detritus of the feast. Empty barrels, bones picked clean. Eddard Stark moved through it all as if he had become part of the stone itself. Steady, cold, implacable. King Robert Baratheon stalked beside him like a bear forced into a cage, his breath loud, his temper straining at its leash. Jory Castle stood at the corridor crossing as if he had been placed there by the gods themselves. His hand hovered near his sword, though he kept his posture respectful. Ser Roderick Castle, gray mustache stiff, waited beside him. Their eyes went to Ned's face, searching it, reading the weather. "Jory," Eddard Stark said, and his voice left no room for questions. "I need my vanguard. Quiet. Every man you trust most. No boasting. No gambling tongues. Bring them to the armory corridor and have them wait. Not in the yard." Jory Castle's eyes narrowed by a hair. "My lord." "Now," Ned said. Jory nodded once and vanished down the hall like a man who had understood the shape of danger without needing it explained. Ser Roderick looked as if he wanted to speak, but Ned cut him off with a glance. "Ser Roderick," Ned said, "bring me men to guard my family's chambers. Double the watch, and if any Lannister man wanders where he should not, detain him politely and firmly." Politely, Ned had said, and Robert's mouth twisted. "Polite chains," the king muttered. The sound of footsteps approached from the far end of the corridor, measured, even like a drumbeat. Barristan Selmy emerged from torch shadow in his white cloak, the pale fabric catching firelight. His hair was silver, his face lined, but there was something unbent in him, something that did not yield to age. He inclined his head to Robert and Ned both. "Your Grace," Barristan Selmy said. "Lord Eddard Stark." Robert stopped. For a moment, his rage wavered as if uncertain whether to trust even this man. Then he forced himself to speak like a king rather than a cuckolded husband. "Ser Barristan," Robert said. "I have need of you." Barristan Selmy's gaze sharpened. "At once." Robert drew him aside, out of the direct torchlight, and Eddard Stark watched the king's face as he spoke in low tones. Watched the twitch at the corner of Robert's jaw. Watched the way Barristan Selmy's expression changed. Not in shock, not in disbelief, but in the grim acceptance of a man who had seen too much of human rot to be surprised when it surfaced again. "Is there proof?" Barristan asked quietly. "There is a child who saw," Ned said, and he hated that the realm's balance might rest on a boy's frightened eyes. Barristan Selmy's gaze slid to Ned, then to Robert. "And Ser Jaime Lannister?" he asked. Robert's mouth tightened. "He is the rot," Robert said. "He is my Kingsguard and my wife's brother and—" Robert's voice cracked, just once, like a whip against stone. He swallowed it. "He is to be arrested." Barristan Selmy's hand went to the hilt of his sword. Not to draw it, but as if reminding himself of the weight of duty. "The Kingsguard serves the king," he said. "Not the queen. Not House Lannister." "Some may have forgotten that," Ned said. Barristan Selmy's eyes flicked away for the space of a breath. "Some," he agreed, and in that single word was a lifetime of bitterness. Robert leaned closer. "You will gather the Kingsguard who are here," he ordered. "Not all. Not yet. Ser Jaime Lannister is to be separated from his sword before he understands he is in danger. Can you do that?" Barristan Selmy did not hesitate. "Yes, Your Grace. And you," Robert said to Ned, "you will keep your men ready. If this turns bloody, I will not have the lion's claws ripping my throat out in some northern hall." Ned's gaze held steady. "Winterfell will not become the Rock's hunting ground," he said. Barristan Selmy's voice was calm as winter. "If Ser Jaime Lannister resists arrest," he said, "there will be blood, but I will do what must be done." Robert nodded once, hard. "Do it," he said. Barristan Selmy turned and strode away with purpose. His white cloak trailed behind him like a banner that did not need wind to fly. Robert stared after him. Then he looked at Ned, and his eyes were wild. If he tries to flee, Robert whispered, I want him dead. Eddard Stark's answer was low and ruthless. Then make sure he cannot flee, he said. They moved again, down the corridor toward the place where the royal party lodged. The stone under their boots felt like the back of some slumbering beast. Ned could almost hear Winterfell itself listening. Catelyn Stark went to the godswood because she could not bear the walls. Winterfell's stone felt as though it pressed inward, and she needed open air, even if that air bit at her cheeks with winter's teeth. The weirwood stood pale and ancient, its carved face watching her with eyes that had seen too much. Red leaves stirred above, a slow rustle like whispering cloth. Snow lay in shallow drifts around the roots. Catelyn put her hand against the weirwood's bark and felt the cold seep into her palm. This is what we have become, she thought. A house forced to snare kings and queens in its own hall, because a child climbed where he should not and saw what no child should see. Behind her, she heard footsteps crunching lightly on snow. She turned, expecting Ned. Instead, it was Sansa Stark, her eldest daughter, cheeks flushed from the cold and confusion, her hair braided neatly even now. Arya Stark lurked half a step behind her, eyes sharp and suspicious, as if she had smelled danger. Robb Stark stood farther back near the treeline, one hand on Grey Wind's fur. His face was too serious for 15. Mother, Sansa said, forcing a smile that didn't fit. Father is calling men. The king is, people are saying something is wrong. Is Bran ill? Catelyn's throat tightened. She wanted to gather them all into her arms and keep them safe from truth. But truth had teeth. It would bite whether she fed it or not. Bran is awake, Catelyn said carefully. He is frightened. That is all you need to know. Arya's eyes narrowed. That's not all, Arya said. Servants are whispering. Jory Castle looks like he swallowed a sword. Do not eavesdrop, Catelyn snapped, and then regretted the sharpness the moment it left her mouth. Arya flinched, then bristled. Robb stepped forward. Mother, he said quietly, and his voice was already trying to be a lord's voice. If there is danger, I should know. Catelyn held his gaze. There was so much of Ned in Robb's eyes, and that made it worse. She forced her voice to steady. There may be danger, she admitted, which is why you will do exactly as your father tells you without question. If he says stay in your chambers, you stay. If he says gather your sisters, you gather them. If he says, her voice caught. If he says leave, you leave. Sansa's fingers tightened around her gloves. But the queen, she began, and her eyes shone with childish adoration still, the dream of court and songs. The queen is kind. Arya snorted. The queen is a snake, Arya muttered. Enough, Catelyn said. Eddard Stark appeared then, stepping between the trees like a shadow made flesh. His face was calm, but Catelyn saw the tension in his jaw, the way his shoulders sat as if braced for a blow. Catelyn, he said, and his voice was soft enough not to carry. He glanced at the children and Grey Wind and seemed to weigh whether to send them away. Then he chose silence. Take them inside, he told Catelyn. All of them. Now. Robb's eyes widened. Father. Now, Ned repeated, and there was something in his tone that brooked no argument. Catelyn turned to her children. Come, she said, and she did not soften it. Inside. As they moved away through the godswood, Arya looked back once, her eyes locking on Ned's face. Arya was too clever. She would remember that expression and know it meant blood was near. When the children were out of earshot, Catelyn returned to Ned. Tell me you will not start a war in my home, she whispered. Ned's mouth tightened. War may already be started, he said. We are only choosing whether to be struck first. Catelyn's hand found his. Bran, she whispered. He is only a child. Ned's fingers squeezed hers once, hard, as if anchoring himself. So is Joffrey, he said, and there was a bleakness to it. So is Tommen. So is Myrcella. And yet the realm will bleed for them. Catelyn stared at him. Do you believe it? She asked. Do you believe? I believe what Bran saw, Ned said. And I believe King Robert Baratheon has finally been given a reason to wake from his wine. Catelyn's breath fogged. And if the lion roars? Ned's gaze flicked to the weirwood face, then back. Then we stand, he said, because if we do not, we die kneeling. Barristan Selmy chose the armory corridor because it was narrow and because stone did not lie. It gave no room for a man to spin away, no space to let arrogance become momentum. 2 Kingsguard stood with him, white cloaks, white honor, at least in theory. Ser Meryn Trant was not here. Ser Boros Blunt was not here. The men present were those Barristan trusted enough to risk the first cut. They waited in torchlight, the flames guttering as if uneasy. The corridor smelled of oil and steel. A rack of spears lined one wall. A row of shields hung on the other, each painted with a northern sigil or scratched with old scars. Then Ser Jaime Lannister came striding in as if he owned the castle. He wore red and gold beneath his white cloak, as if he could not bear to be only one thing. His hair fell in shining waves to his shoulders, and his smile was easy, careless. In his hand, he held his gloves, and his sword hung at his hip like an extension of his confidence. Barristan, Jaime said, nodding as if greeting an old acquaintance at court. Not a man who might soon become his executioner. What brings you skulking in this drafty hole? The feast was decent enough. The wine tasted like it had been strained through a horse, but... He paused as he noticed the way the other Kingsguard stood, the way their bodies were angled, not relaxed, the way their hands rested ready. Jaime's smile sharpened. "Is there some trouble?" he asked, and his voice remained light, but his eyes had become calculating. Barristan Selmy stepped forward. "Ser Jaime Lannister," he said, and the formality was a blade. "By order of King Robert Baratheon, you are to surrender your sword." For an instant, the corridor went very still. Jaime blinked once. "That is a strange jest," he said, but his hand drifted closer to his hilt. "It is not a jest," Barristan said. His eyes did not leave Jaime's. "Surrender it." Jaime's mouth tightened. He did not draw his sword because Jaime was no fool. He knew what it meant when a Kingsguard asked for a blade in a corridor lined with spears. He knew what it meant when Barristan Selmy's tone held no uncertainty. Slowly, Jaime lifted his hands away from his hilt. "I serve the king," he said, and the words sounded like mockery. "Then obey him," Barristan replied. Jaime hesitated, pride warred with survival in his eyes. Then he unbuckled the sword belt with deliberate slowness, as if each inch of leather was a strip of his dignity. He held the sword out. Barristan took it. A flicker of something, anger, humiliation, cold fury, passed over Jaime's face. "If Robert Baratheon has something to say to me," Jaime said, "he can say it to my face." "He will," Barristan said. "In chains, if need be." Jaime's jaw clenched. "Is this about the queen?" he asked. No one answered. From the archway, Tyrion's cup paused halfway to his mouth. His eyes narrowed. He took a slow sip as if buying time. Jaime's gaze snapped to him. "Tyrion," Jaime said, voice tight. Go and what?" Tyrion asked mildly, and his tone was too casual. "Warn Cersei Lannister? That seems unwise, brother. These men look as though they have already chosen their path." Jaime's nostrils flared. "You always did enjoy watching fires from a safe distance," he hissed. Tyrion shrugged one shoulder. "I enjoy living," he said. Barristan Selmy stepped closer. "Ser Jaime Lannister," he said, "you will come with us." Jaime's eyes glittered. "And if I refuse?" he asked, though he had not moved. Then one of the other Kingsguard shifted, and the scrape of steel was a whisper of promise. At the corridor's far end, Jory Castle's men appeared. Silent as Ned Stark had ordered, northern faces grim, hands on spears hafts. Jaime looked from Barristan to the spears to the faces of men who would not hesitate. His smile returned, but it was a thin thing, a cracked mirror. "Very well," Jaime said. "Lead on." Tyrion watched him go, and for the first time his expression showed something like worry. "Gods," he murmured to himself. "What have you done now, sister?" Queen Cersei Lannister sat as if she were on the Iron Throne itself, though Winterfell's solar was a poor imitation of royal splendor. The light was gray through the window, and the cold seeped into everything. Still, she held her chin high, her hair braided, her green eyes sharp enough to cut. Joffrey Baratheon paced. He did not pace like a boy. He paced like a predator trapped behind glass, furious that the world did not bend at once. Myrcella Baratheon clutched a doll so hard its cloth face crumpled. Tommen Baratheon hovered behind Cersei's skirts, peeking out with wide eyes. Sandor Clegane leaned by the door, his ruined face unreadable, his hand near his sword. He watched the room as if expecting danger, and perhaps he always did. When the door opened, it opened to more than a visitor. King Robert Baratheon entered first, and the air seemed to tense around him. Eddard Stark came beside him, and behind them came Barristan Selmy in white and northern men with spears. The sight of armed men in a lady's solar should have been absurd. Instead, it was terrifyingly sane. Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Robert," she said, and her voice was silk over steel. "What is the meaning of this?" Robert's gaze fixed on her as if he were trying to see the woman beneath the mask. "Stand," he ordered. Cersei did not move. "I am the queen," she said softly. "Do you forget yourself?" Robert's mouth twisted. "I have remembered myself," he said. "At last." Joffrey bristled. "Mother," he snapped. "Tell them to be silent," Robert said, and the word hit like a slap. Joffrey froze, stunned, then flushed with rage. Cersei rose slowly, graceful as a cat. "You come here armed," she said, "in Lord Eddard Stark's home. Is this your idea of a jest, husband?" Robert took a step forward. "Your brother is in custody," he said. For the first time, something flickered across Cersei's face. Not fear. Cersei Lannister did not wear fear easily, but calculation shifting, a board rearranging itself. "Jaime?" she said, and her voice did not tremble. "On what charge?" Robert's eyes burned. "Do not play the innocent," he growled. "Not now." Cersei's gaze slid to Eddard Stark. "Ned," she said, as if appealing to honor itself. "Surely you will not allow this." Eddard Stark did not flinch. "I will allow what the king orders," he said. Cersei's lips tightened. "Then it seems Winterfell has become a place where wolves put crowns in cages," she said. Robert's hand clenched. "Your children," he said, and the words tasted like ash, "will remain here under guard until we return to King's Landing." Myrcella's eyes widened. "Father?" she whispered. Tommen made a small, frightened sound. Joffrey's face twisted. "You can't," he shouted. "I am the crown prince. I will be king." Robert's gaze snapped to him. For a moment, the room went deadly quiet. "You are a boy," Robert said, voice low, "and you will learn what it means to be silent when your father speaks." Joffrey took a step forward, fists clenched. Sandor Clegane shifted, as if ready to intervene, though whether to protect Joffrey or protect the room from Joffrey was unclear. Cersei stepped between Robert and the children, her posture protective in a way that might have been sincere or might have been strategy. "This is madness," she said. "If you lay hands on me, Tywin Lannister will come north with fire and steel. Let him," Robert said, and his voice shook with hatred. "Let him bring his banners. I have crushed lions before." Cersei smiled then, small and poisonous. "You crushed a prince on the trident," she said. "You drank yourself into a kingdom. You are not the man you were." Robert's face went red. He took another step, and for an instant it looked as if he might strike her with his fist the way he might strike any man who insulted him. Eddard Stark moved just enough, an invisible barrier. Robert's hand stopped, trembling, inches from Cersei's cheek. "You will not hit her," Eddard Stark said quietly. Robert's nostrils flared. "Why?" he snarled. "Because if you do," Ned said, "you become the villain she needs you to be." Cersei's eyes glittered. "Hear him," she murmured. "Your honorable friend, always telling you what you are." Robert's hand dropped. His breath came harsh. "Chains," he said finally, and the words sounded like a verdict. "Cersei Lannister, you are under arrest." For the first time, the queen's composure cracked enough to show fury bare. "You cannot arrest a queen," she hissed. "I can arrest a liar," Robert spat. "And I can arrest a traitor." Cersei's gaze flashed toward Sandor Clegane, a silent command. The hound did not move. His eyes were on Robert's men, on Barristan Selmy, on the spears. He understood odds. Joffrey lunged toward Robert with a snarl. "I'll have you," he began. Barristan Selmy stepped forward and caught the boy by the collar with a speed that belied his age. Joffrey struggled, red-faced, and Barristan held him like a troublesome pup. "Do not," Barristan said, his voice cold. "Make your father's anger your death." Myrcella began to cry, silent tears spilling down her cheeks. Tommen clung to Cersei, sobbing into her skirts. Cersei's eyes burned. "You will regret this," she said to Robert. "You will regret it when the lion comes." Robert leaned close enough that only she would hear. "I have regretted marrying you every day since it happened," he murmured, and his voice was raw. "Now you will regret being caught." Eddard Stark watched it all with a hollow feeling in his chest. He had wanted truth. He had never wanted this. The great hall of Winterfell had seen feasts and oaths and funerals. It had heard laughter that shook rafters and sobs that died in the cracks between stones. Now it held a different sound. The restrained, dangerous quiet of men watching a king decide whether he would become a butcher. Jaime Lannister knelt with his hands bound. His white cloak was torn at the shoulder where someone had grabbed him. A bruise darkened his cheekbone, not from a fist but from stone. He had been shoved against a wall when he tried to twist free. His hair had fallen into his eyes. Even kneeling, he looked arrogant, but his arrogance had become something sharper, edged with contempt. King Robert Baratheon stood before him like a storm given legs. His fists were clenched. The tendons in his neck stood out. His eyes were bloodshot, not from drink now, but from rage that refused to spill. "You," Robert said, and the word was a growl. "You stood by my side. You wore my colors. You swore a vow. And you—" His voice broke, not with sorrow but with sheer, violent disbelief. "You lay with my queen." Jaime's smile was faint. "She was never your queen," Jaime said softly. The hall tensed. Spears shifted. Hands tightened on sword hilts. Robert took a step forward. Eddard Stark moved before him at once, raising a hand, not to touch the king, but to intercept the blow that might become a death sentence. "Your Grace," Ned said, and he kept his voice level with effort. "Not here." Robert's gaze snapped to Ned. "Not here," Robert snarled. "Where then? In my bed? In the Red Keep while the whole realm watches me stumble about like a fat fool? He made me a laughingstock." Jaime lifted his chin. "You did that yourself," he said. Robert's face went purple. His hand shot out, and this time he did not aim for Cersei. He aimed for Jaime. Barristan Selmy moved faster than Ned thought possible. He stepped in, caught Robert's wrist with one hand, and held it. Not with force, but with authority. The king froze, shocked that anyone had dared stop him. Barristan's voice was low and fierce. "Your Grace," he said, "do not." For a heartbeat, it looked as if Robert might strike Barristan as well. Then something in Robert's eyes shifted. He stared at Barristan's hand on his wrist, at the old knight's calm, and he pulled away with a shuddering breath. "Speak," Robert said to Jaime, and his voice shook. "Tell me it is a lie." Jaime's gaze flicked toward the hall's doors, as if he could see through stone to where Cersei and the children were held. For a moment, something human crossed his face. Worry, perhaps, or love or fear. Then it vanished behind arrogance again. "I will not beg," Jaime said. "If you want me dead, kill me. But do not pretend you are a just man. You have never been just." Only strong. Robert barked a harsh laugh. Strong, he repeated. I was strong enough to smash Rhaegar's chest in. Strong enough to take a throne. And yet I could not see what crawled in my bed. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. Are they yours? Jaime's eyes flashed. He did not answer. Robert's fists clenched. Answer, he roared, and the sound echoed off stone. Men flinched. Even Jaime's smile faltered. Eddard Stark spoke before Robert did something irreversible. Your Grace, Ned said, we take them south. We do this the lawful way. If you kill him here, you give House Lannister a martyr. Robert turned on Ned like a wounded bear. A martyr? He snarled. For what? For treason? For incest? For... The word seemed to choke him. For spitting on my name? Jaime's eyes narrowed. Careful, he said softly. Words can be dangerous. Robert's gaze burned. You threaten me? He demanded. I remind you, Jaime said, that you are not the only one who can start a war. Silence held the hall again. Northern men watched with faces carved from winter. Some looked at Jaime with hatred. Some looked at Robert with uncertainty. Some looked at Ned, waiting for him to hold the line of reason. Barristan Selmy lifted Jaime's sword slightly so the torchlight caught on the steel. This blade slew the Mad King, Barristan said, and his tone held judgment. And now it will not touch the king it swore to protect. Robert stared at the sword as if seeing it for the first time. Chains, he said again, harsh. Bind him, bind her, bind them all. We leave as soon as we can ride. Jaime's smile returned, thin. You think chains hold lions? He asked. Eddard Stark looked at him. Chains hold men, Ned said. And you are a man. Jaime laughed softly. Tell yourself that, he murmured. Ned felt a chill that had nothing to do with Winterfell stone. This was only the first clash. The real storm was still gathering. Bran should not have been in the hall. He knew that the way boys knew they should not touch a hot stove, by remembering pain, by fearing punishment. Yet curiosity and terror had pulled him there as surely as a rope. He had crept from his chamber with Hodder hovering behind him like a reluctant shadow, and he had found a crack in a doorway that let him see without being seen. He watched his father stand between a king and a bound knight. He watched King Robert Baratheon rage like thunder trapped in flesh. He watched Ser Jaime Lannister smile even on his knees. It made Bran's stomach twist. It made the world feel wrong. When Robert roared, Bran flinched so hard his grip slipped, and the door creaked. The sound was small. In the hall's silence, it was a scream. Eddard Stark's head turned at once. His gaze swept toward the doorway, sharp as a hawk's. Bran froze. His father's eyes found him. For a heartbeat, Bran could not breathe. Catelyn Stark appeared from behind the hall's pillars like a ghost summoned by fear. She moved quickly, quietly, and in an instant she was beside Bran, her hand on his shoulder, guiding him back into shadow. Bran, she whispered fiercely. What are you doing? Bran's mouth opened. No words came. Catelyn's eyes were bright with anger and terror both. If they see you, she whispered. If they know. Ned's voice came, low but firm, carrying just enough to reach them without drawing eyes from the hall. Catelyn, he said, not a question. Command. Catelyn swallowed. She pulled Bran back, deeper into the corridor. Hodder hovered close, lips moving as if he might say his own name in protest, but he remained silent. They retreated until the hall's torchlight was distant. Catelyn crouched to Bran's level, her hands gripping his shoulders hard enough to hurt. Do you understand what you have done? She whispered. Bran's eyes stung. I didn't mean. It does not matter what you meant, Catelyn hissed. The realm does not care about a boy's meaning, cares about consequences. Her voice cracked. If House Lannister believes you are the one who brought this down upon them, they will want you dead. Bran's breath came in little gasps. He thought of Jaime's calm voice last night, the way it had held no warmth. He said, Bran whispered. He said the things I do for love. Catelyn's face went pale. She pulled Bran into her arms suddenly, tight, as if trying to shield him with flesh alone. "You will not leave my sight," she whispered into his hair. "Do you hear me? Not for a moment." Footsteps approached, steady, measured. Eddard Stark appeared in the corridor, his face a mask of controlled anger. He looked at Bran, at Catelyn's grip, at the fear in their eyes, and his jaw tightened. "I told you to stay," Ned said softly to Bran. Bran's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Ned's gaze softened by a fraction. "There is no room for sorry," he said. "Only for careful." He glanced down the corridor toward the hall. "They must not see you," he added. "Not now." Catelyn's voice was strained. "He was drawn by fear," she said, as if defending Bran even while terrified. "He wanted to see what he started." Ned's eyes flicked to her. "We all want to see," he said. "That is how people die." He crouched, bringing his face close to Bran's. "Listen to me," he said. "From this moment on, you are not a boy who climbs towers. You are a secret that men will kill for. Do you understand?" Bran nodded, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. Ned's expression hardened again. "Good," he said and rose. He looked at Catelyn. "Guard him," he said. "Guard all of them. I will not have my children become casualties of a king's fury." Catelyn clutched Bran tighter. "Ned," she whispered, "what if Robert cannot be restrained?" Ned's gaze drifted, far away, as if seeing a road lined with corpses. "Then we become the restraint," he said quietly. "Or we become the graves." The ravens went first, because words could travel faster than horses and because the realm's balance shifted with every heartbeat. Eddard Stark sat at a wooden table in a side chamber off the Great Hall, quill scratching parchment. Maester Luwin stood beside him with ink and wax, his face grave. Outside the window, snow tapped softly against glass, as if winter itself was trying to get in. Somewhere nearby, chains clinked, subtle, rhythmic, a reminder that the Queen and her brother were not free. King Robert Baratheon stood near the hearth with a cup in his hand. He drank as if the wine might drown thought. His hand shook when he lifted the cup. His gaze was fixed on the fire, but Ned knew Robert was seeing something else. Cersei's smile, perhaps, or Jaime's kneeling defiance, or Jon Arryn's corpse. Barristan Selmy guarded the door, silent as stone. His presence was a shield. It also felt like judgment. Ned finished the first letter and pressed his direwolf seal into the wax. "To Stannis Baratheon," he said to Luwin, and the words tasted of steel. "He must come. He must know." Luwin nodded, taking the letter carefully. Ned wrote the second with a harder hand. "To Renly Baratheon," he said. "King's Landing must be secured before rumor becomes riot." Robert's voice came, rough. "To Tywin," he said. "Tell him to come to me in chains." Ned's quill paused. He looked at Robert. "If you provoke him in ink," Ned said quietly, "you will force his hand." Robert's eyes flashed. "Do not tell me how to deal with my wife. I am telling you how to keep your head on your shoulders," Ned replied, and there was a knife-edge calm to it. "If you strike at Queen Cersei Lannister openly, House Lannister will strike back, and they will not care how many innocents bleed." Robert's jaw worked. "She has mocked me in my own bed," he said, voice low. "He made me a laughingstock." Ned's voice softened, just enough to remind Robert of friendship beneath the crown. "Jon Arryn died trying to protect you," Ned said. "If you honor him, you will live long enough to make that death mean something." Robert's face tightened at the name. Jon Arryn, father, mentor, conscience. The loss had hollowed Robert in a way even wine could not fill. Robert's voice dropped. "If Stannis comes," he said, "he will look at me like I'm a fool. He will look at you like a king who finally opened his eyes," Ned replied. Robert's gaze hardened. "And if the children are not mine," he whispered, and for the first time the question sounded like fear. Ned did not answer with comfort. He answered with truth. Then the line of succession changes, he said quietly, and the realm changes with it. Robert's face contorted, pain and rage battling. Gods, he whispered. Then he slammed his fist into the stone mantle so hard the sound cracked through the room. Gods damn her.
Ned flinched internally.
The war had begun in Robert's heart. The war in the realm would follow. Night came early, as it always did in the north. Snow fell in a slow, steady curtain that made torchlight shimmer. The courtyard of Winterfell was alive with movement, but it was the movement of men obeying a command to be quiet. No songs, no shouted jokes, no clatter of celebration. Only leather creaking, hoofs stamping softly, the occasional metallic clink of harness buckle. Jory Castle walked among the men with a practiced eye, checking spear points, tightening straps, murmuring orders that carried no farther than they needed to. Northern men loaded supplies onto pack horses as if preparing for a hunt that might hunt them back. Eddard Stark stood on the stone steps beneath the great hall's doors. He watched his home become a staging ground. He watched Winterfell's breath turn to war. Catelyn Stark stood near him with Bran pressed to her side, her arm around him like a barrier. Bran's head leaned against her ribs. He looked out at the yard with eyes too old for his face. He watched the men move, the horses shift, and he understood in some dim, frightened way that the world had changed because he had climbed. In an upper window, a warm glow shone behind thick curtains. Guards stood outside that door. Inside, Queen Cersei Lannister waited with her children, and the waiting itself felt like a blade held over the realm. King Robert Baratheon stood alone at the courtyard's far edge, his cloak snapping in the wind. He looked up at the dark sky as if he expected the gods to appear and explain themselves. Snow collected in his beard. He did not move to brush it away. Ned approached him quietly, boots crunching on snow. For a moment, neither man spoke. The wind did the talking, hissing through the yard like a warning. "I remember when I was young," Robert said at last, voice low. "I thought war was a song. I thought it was glory." He laughed once, bitter. "Now I can't even remember why I wanted the throne." Ned's breath fogged. "You wanted it because you believed you had to," he said. Robert's gaze did not leave the sky. "I wanted Lyanna," he said softly, and the name fell like something sacred and ruined. "I wanted a world where she wasn't taken from me." His jaw clenched. "And what did I get? A bed full of cold gold and lies." Ned's face tightened at the name, because Lyanna was his wound as well. "We cannot undo the past," he said. Robert turned then, and there was something raw in his eyes. "But I can punish the present," he said. "I can make them pay." Ned held his gaze. "If you make them pay without law, the realm will not follow you," he said. "It will follow whoever promises vengeance with fewer rules." Robert's lips peeled back. "Stannis will promise law," he muttered. "Renly will promise smiles. Tywin will promise fear. And what do I promise, Ned?" Ned's answer was quiet and deadly honest. "You promise strength guided by restraint," he said. "Or you promise nothing at all." Robert stared at him, and for a moment the old Robert, the warrior, the man who had been alive before crowns and drink, flickered. Then the weight returned. "Restraint," Robert repeated. "A hard word. A necessary one," Ned said. Behind them, Bran made a small sound, half a sniffle, half a breath caught. Catelyn tightened her hold on him. Ned glanced back and met Bran's eyes across the yard. The boy flinched, expecting anger, expecting blame. Ned did not give him either. He gave him responsibility. His gaze seemed to say, "This is what truth costs." Ned looked back to Robert. "We ride at first light," he said. Robert's voice was rough. "And if she tries to escape, she will not," Ned said, and he meant it. Not because Cersei lacked cunning, but because Winterfell now held more watchers than shadows. Robert exhaled hard, a cloud of breath in the cold. "If Jon Arryn died for this," he whispered, "I will burn them all." Ned's expression did not change. "Then burn them with the realm at your back," he said. "Not alone." Robert nodded once, sharp, like a man accepting a burden he could not shrug off. He turned toward the guarded window where warmth glowed behind stone. His eyes hardened into something that did not forgive. Snow fell, torches hissed. Men prepared without speaking. And Winterfell, ancient and patient, watched its own walls become the first line in a war that would not end quickly. Because when kings learned the truth too late, the truth did not bring peace. It brought reckoning. Winterfell woke before the sun. The castle did not so much rouse as tense, like a beast sensing an arrow loosed in the dark. Snow fell in soft sheets that muffled sound and turned every footstep into a private confession. Torches burned low along the yard, their flames guttering as if they were ashamed to give light to what was happening. Eddard Stark moved among his men with a quiet that was not calm but controlled. He checked straps, counted faces, met eyes, and did not speak more than he had to. Each man he nodded to understood. There would be no drunken boasting of marching with the king, no songs, no wagers on how quickly the South would melt. This was not a triumph. It was a wound being carried toward a healer who might already be dead. King Robert Baratheon sat his horse like a man trying to sit above his own rage. The warhorse stamped and blew, its black mane dusted white with snow. Robert's cloak snapped in the wind. His beard was already frosted at the edges. He stared at the covered wagon in the yard as if he could see through canvas and wood to the faces inside. Catelyn Stark stood with her children near the steps. She held Bran so tightly that his shoulder pressed into her ribs. Bran's breath came in small white clouds. His eyes darted between men and horses and the wagon. He had dreamed of riding south in a king's company. Boys always did, imagining banners and glory. Yet now the sight of it made his stomach twist. This was the South he had conjured with his tongue. This was what truth looked like when it took shape in steel. Sansa Stark clutched her gloves, her knuckles pale. She stared at the wagon with an expression torn between disbelief and hope, as if she were still waiting for someone to laugh and say it was all a misunderstanding, a harsh northern jest. Arya Stark stood beside her, shoulders squared beneath her cloak, eyes sharp. Arya looked at the wagon as if it contained justice. Or prey. Catelyn kissed Bran's hair once. Quick. Stay close, she whispered. Her voice wavered and steadied again. Do not wander. Do not climb. Not for anything. I won't, Bran whispered, but he could not keep the tremor from it. Eddard came to them, his face set. He looked at Catelyn, and the look they shared held more than 1,000 words. Winterfell, Rob, the younger boys, the risk of leaving, the risk of staying. You do not have to come, Ned said low, and though it sounded like an offer, it carried guilt. Catelyn's jaw tightened. And leave Bran here while lions sharpen their claws? She whispered back. No. If the realm wants my son's blood, they will have to cut through me to get it. Ned's eyes flicked to Bran, then to Sansa and Arya. He looked as if he wanted to argue. He did not. He only nodded once, as if accepting a burden he had no right to refuse. Robert's voice rolled across the yard, too loud for the hour. Are we ready? Ned turned. We are ready, Your Grace. Robert's gaze slid to Bran, and for a heartbeat the king's expression softened into something like pity. Then it hardened again because pity did not build kingdoms. You'll ride in the center, Robert said. No one touches the boy. No one touches any of them, Catelyn said, and her voice surprised even her with its fierceness. Robert did not argue. Perhaps he understood mothers better in that moment than he ever had in his marriage. He turned back to his horse and spat into the snow. Move, he ordered. Men shifted. Harness creaked. A line began to form without fanfare, as if the castle itself was pushing them out. At the wagon, Barristan Selmy stood with 2 Kingsguard beside him. Their white cloaks were darkened at the hems by slush. Barristan watched everything. He watched hands. He watched faces. He watched the covered wagon like a man guarding a powder keg. Somewhere inside, chains clinked, faint, almost polite. When the gate finally opened, it did not groan as gates usually did. It seemed to sigh. Winterfell let them go, and the snow swallowed their tracks as quickly as it could. The wagon smelled of wet wool and old wood, and fear kept too long in a small space. The lantern swung on its hook with each jolt of the wheels, casting a shifting light that made the faces inside seem to change with every bump. Cersei Lannister sat with her hands manacled before her, her wrists marked raw where the iron rubbed. She held herself as if chains were a costume she had chosen. Her back was straight, her chin lifted, her green eyes took in every detail. The lantern hook, the cracks between boards, the way the canvas flap lay, the hound's posture near the exit, because details were weapons if you knew how to use them. Joffrey Baratheon did not sit. He paced the cramped space like a caged animal. Twice he jerked at the restraints they had put on him. Twice he found they held. His face was red with fury, his blonde hair falling into his eyes. "This is treason," he spat for the third time. "They cannot do this. They cannot." Myrcella pulled Tommen closer and shushed him, though she was shaking herself. Tommen's cheeks were wet. He clutched the hem of her cloak with sticky fingers, whispering, "Mother," as if the word could make the world right again. Septa Mordane sat on a small bench, her lips moving silently. Prayer, perhaps, or a litany of things she regretted not teaching them. Her eyes darted to Cersei and away again, as if she feared meeting the queen's gaze might invite wrath. Sandor Clegane sat near the canvas flap, one knee up, one hand resting on his sword hilt. His burned face was half in shadow, half in lantern light, making the ruin of him look like two different men stitched together. He did not speak. He did not pray. He watched. Cersei's voice cut through the wagon like a knife. "Stop," she said. Joffrey whirled toward her. "Mother, they..." "Stop," Cersei repeated, colder. "You waste breath. You waste strength. You make noise." She glanced toward the flap where Sandor Saturday noise is for fools who want the world to hear them. Joffrey's chest heaved. He looked at her as if she had slapped him. "I am the crown prince." Cersei's smile was thin. "You are a boy," she said softly, and the softness was cruel. "A boy who will live or die based on how well we play this." Her gaze slid to Myrcella and Tommen. It softened by the smallest fraction, enough to make it feel more dangerous. "Do not frighten them." Joffrey's nostrils flared. He turned away, jaw clenched, and resumed pacing in silence, his anger now packed into his body like a held breath. Myrcella swallowed. "Mother," she whispered. "When will father?" Cersei's eyes sharpened. "He is not your father," she said, and the words were quiet enough that Septa Mordane's prayer faltered, but loud enough that the lantern seemed to swing wider. Tommen blinked, confused. "But he is," he whimpered. Cersei looked at her youngest son, and something flickered behind her eyes. Something that might have been regret if she were capable of it. "Hush," she said, and the word was gentler. "Just hush." Sandor's voice came at last, rough like gravel. "Careful," he muttered. "Walls have ears, even in a wagon." Cersei turned her gaze to him. "Do you intend to betray me, Sandor Clegane?" she asked, and her tone was almost amused. Sandor's mouth twisted. "I intend to live," he said. "That's all I ever intend." Cersei laughed softly, a sound without warmth. "Then you should pray," she said. "Because if Tywin Lannister hears what they've done, he will come like the end of days." Septa Mordane's lips moved faster. Joffrey stopped pacing. His eyes burned. "When I am king," he said, voice shaking with promise, "I will have Lord Eddard Stark's head. I will have his wife's head. I will have his son." Cersei's gaze snapped to him, and for a moment it was pure command. "No," she said. "You will say nothing of that." Her voice dropped even lower. "You will watch. You will remember. You will learn." Joffrey's face contorted. "I do not need to learn," he hissed. Cersei leaned forward as far as the chains allowed, her bracelets clinking softly. "You do," she whispered, "because your life is a game being played by men who are better at it than you." Her eyes gleamed. "And I will not have you lose." Outside the wagon, hoofs thudded on frozen ground. The wheels creaked, the world rolled southward, and inside the small wooden cage, a queen began to plan how to burn it. Jaime Lannister did not slump like a prisoner, even with his hands bound and his wrists chafed. He sat his horse with an effortless grace that made the ropes seem like decoration. Snow clung to the shoulders of his white cloak, turning it gray at the seams. His blonde hair blew loose, and the cold reddened his cheek where stone had kissed it in Winterfell's corridor. Barristan Selmy rode on one side of him, stiff-backed, eyes forward. Jory Castle rode on the other, spear across his saddle, gaze watchful and hard. Between them, Jaime was contained, but he did not look contained. He looked like a man who had already decided the world would fail to hold him. Eddard Stark rode close enough to watch Jaime's hands, close enough to hear him if he spoke, but far enough that he could pretend he was not guarding the man as much as studying him. Jaime turned his head slightly. "Lord Eddard Stark," he said, voice carrying easily over hoofbeats. "How does it feel to be the realm's conscience?" Ned did not answer at once. The kingsroad stretched ahead, pale beneath a sky the color of old steel. Pines watched from the edges, laden with snow. "It feels," Ned said finally, "like holding a torch near dry straw." Jaime's smile tilted. "Ah," he said, "so you know it will burn." "I know the realm is fragile," Ned replied. Jaime's laughter was quiet. "Fragile," he repeated. "A pretty word for rotten." Ned's eyes narrowed. "You think yourself above rot?" Jaime looked ahead, expression sharpening. "I think myself honest about it," he said. "You were raised on honor. I was raised on lions." His gaze flicked toward the covered wagon where Cersei rode. "You think you have trapped us, but you have only forced the game into daylight." Barristan's voice cut in cold. "Hold your tongue." Jaime glanced at him, amused. "Still pretending vows are chains, Barristan Selmy? Did your vows stop Aerys Targaryen from burning men alive? Did they stop Robert Baratheon from drinking himself into a ruin? Did they stop me from killing the Mad King?" Barristan Selmy's jaw tightened. "You killed him for yourself," he said, "not for the realm." Jaime's eyes glittered. "Is that what you believe?" he asked softly. "Or is that what you need to believe to keep your white cloak clean?" Ned felt a chill that had nothing to do with snow. He had heard whispers, of course, of wildfire, of screams in the Red Keep, of the Mad King's last madness. He had never asked Jaime. He had never wanted the answer. Jaime's gaze slid to Ned again. "Tell me," he said, voice light. "Does King Robert Baratheon know why Jon Arryn died? Does he know why he sent for you? Or is he only angry because his pride was bruised?" Ned's grip tightened on his reins. "Leave Jon Arryn out of your mouth," he said. Jaime's smile sharpened. "Still mourning," he murmured. "How touching." Then he leaned slightly, as if sharing a secret. "If you truly want to protect the realm, Lord Eddard Stark, you should pray that Robert Baratheon does not live long enough to make this worse." Ned's eyes flashed. "That is treason," he said. Jaime shrugged against his bonds. "Everything is treason to a man who thinks truth belongs to him," he said. "You think you are saving the realm, but you are only pulling one thread of a tapestry held together by lies. Pull it hard enough and you will find there is nothing beneath but blood." Jory Castle muttered low, "I'll gag him." Barristan Selmy did not disagree. "Another word," Barristan warned. Jaime looked amused. "Go on," he said. "Silence me. Silence the queen. Silence the boy." His eyes flicked toward Bran's position in the column, guarded tight near Catelyn. Silence is such a northern solution. Ned's gaze followed that glance, and anger rose in him like a tide. "If you so much as think of harming my son," Ned said, voice low, "you will die on this road." Jaime's smile faded, just for a heartbeat, into something like curiosity. "You believe you can kill me," he said. "I know I can," Ned replied. Jaime held Ned's gaze, then laughed softly again. "Then perhaps this will be entertaining after all," he murmured. The hooves kept their rhythm. The snow kept falling. and the Kingslayer rode south with ropes on his wrists and a grin that promised he did not believe in cages. The first night on the kingsroad was colder than Winterfell's yard, because on the road there were no walls to hold back the wind. Tents huddled like frightened beasts under the trees. Torches hissed as snow landed on flame. Men spoke in murmurs. Even the horses seemed quieter, their breath steaming in the dark. Catelyn lay beside Bran inside a small tent, her cloak pulled over them both. Bran's eyes stayed open far too long. Each time the wind snapped the canvas, he flinched. Summer lay curled near Bran's feet, a warm weight of fur and quiet vigilance. The direwolf's ears twitched at every distant sound. "You should sleep," Catelyn whispered. "I can't," Bran whispered back. Catelyn stroked his hair, fingers gentle. "You will," she said, though her voice held no certainty. "You must." Outside, the camp settled into uneasy rest. Somewhere nearby, Robert's laughter burst once. Harsh, forced, then died. Men shifted on watch. Spears tapped softly as hands adjusted grip. Bran's eyelids finally began to sag. The warmth of summer, the weight of his mother's presence, pulled him toward sleep like a tide. Then Summer's head lifted. A low growl vibrated through the tent, so quiet it almost sounded like a dream. Catelyn's eyes snapped open. Her hand froze in Bran's hair. "What is it?" she whispered. Summer's growl deepened. A shadow moved outside the tent, blotting torchlight for a heartbeat. The canvas rustled. Catelyn's heart seized. She groped for the small knife Ned had pressed into her hand before they left Winterfell. More comfort than weapon, but comfort could be sharp. The tent flap shifted. A hooded figure slipped inside like smoke. The dagger in his hand caught the lantern's faint glow, a flash of cold. Bran's eyes flew open. For an instant, he could not understand what he was seeing. A nightmare stepping into the world. The man's gaze locked on Bran. Summer lunged. The direwolf hit the assassin with a snarl that filled the tent. Teeth sank into cloth and flesh. The man screamed, muffled by fur, and the dagger stabbed wildly, missing Bran by inches and slicing the tent canvas instead. Catelyn surged forward, knife raised, but Summer's fury was already a storm. The assassin wrenched free, bleeding, and swung the dagger again, this time toward Bran's throat. A hand caught his wrist. Jory Castle slammed into the tent, followed by two Northmen. The assassin's arm jerked, the blade skittering away into blankets. Jory drove a fist into the man's face. Bone cracked, the assassin staggered, and a Northman's spear but smashed into his ribs. Summer went for the man again, snapping at his leg, dragging him down. Catelyn hauled Bran against her chest. Bran shook so hard his teeth clicked. More men poured in, torches held high, faces wild with sudden wakefulness. Someone shouted for Lord Eddard Stark. Someone shouted for King Robert Baratheon. The camp erupted into noise at last, as if the silence had been cut open. The assassin struggled beneath Summer's weight, hands flailing. Blood smeared the blankets. His hood fell back, revealing a lean face, eyes wide with fear and desperation. Not a proud Lannister knight, not a gilded enemy, just a man with hungry eyes and a knife. "Who sent you?" Jory Castle roared, shaking him. The man spat blood and laughed. A thin, broken sound. "Gold," he choked. "I was promised." "By who?" Jory demanded. The assassin's eyes darted to the tent flap, toward the darkness beyond, as if expecting someone to appear and silence him. His laugh turned into a cough. "By," he began, and then his gaze went glassy. A spear point had found his throat from behind. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Eddard Stark pushed into the tent, his face hard. His eyes swept the scene. Bran trembling in Catelyn's arms, Summer panting with blood on his muzzle, the dead man on the ground, and the Northman holding the spear with a stunned expression. The Northman began. Eddard Stark's gaze snapped to him. "Did you know him?"
Ned demanded.
The man shook his head violently. "No, my lord. He moved, and I..." Ned's eyes narrowed. He looked down at the dead assassin. "He moved," Ned repeated softly. "Or you made sure he would not speak?" The camp's torches flickered. Men shifted, uneasy. Catelyn's voice trembled. "They tried to kill him," she whispered, pressing Bran's head into her shoulder as if to hide him from the sight of blood. "They tried to kill my son." King Robert Baratheon's roar carried from outside, thunder rolling toward them. "What is this?" Ned's jaw clenched. He stared at the dead man and felt certainty settle like ice. Whether Cersei had ordered it or some other hand had moved, the message was clear. Bran Stark's life was now worth enough gold to buy a killer. Robert came like a storm breaking its own leash. He shoved through the ring of guards around the prisoner's tent, his cloak flaring, torchlight making his shadow huge on the canvas. His eyes were wild, his cheeks flushed, his breath steaming in harsh bursts. Men stepped aside instinctively. No one wanted to be the one to stop a king in a fury. Eddard Stark caught Robert's arm before he could grab the tent flap and tear it down. The gesture was not gentle. It was necessity with a hand. Robert tried to jerk free. "Let me go," he snarled. "No," Ned said, low and firm, and the word held iron. Robert's eyes snapped to him. "They tried to kill the boy," he hissed. "They tried to kill the witness." His voice cracked on the last word. "Your son, because of her." Ned's grip tightened. "We do not know who sent him," Ned said. "We know only that he came with a knife." Robert's mouth twisted. "You think she didn't?" he demanded. He thrust his chin toward the tent. "She would kill her own shadow if it threatened her." Inside the tent, Cersei's silhouette shifted. The canvas flap moved, and the Queen's voice came out calm as still water. "If you intend to accuse me, Robert," she said, "at least have the courtesy to do it where I can see your face." Robert yanked the flap open so hard the ties snapped. Warmth and lantern light spilled into the night. Cersei sat inside, chains visible at her wrists, her hair gleaming in the light. She looked up at Robert as if he were nothing but a man who had barged into her chamber uninvited, which, in a way, he was. Joffrey was there too, sitting rigid, eyes burning. He stared at Robert with a hatred so raw it looked almost like devotion turned poisonous. Robert leaned into the tent. "Did you send a knife for Bran Stark?" he demanded. Cersei's smile was faint. "Do you truly think I could send anything from chains?" she asked. "Or is your rage so desperate for a target that you will invent one?" Robert's fist clenched. "Do not play games." Cersei's gaze slid to Ned. "Lord Eddard Stark," she said softly, "tell your friend that his anger makes him stupid." Ned stepped into the tent's mouth, just enough to be seen. His face was cold. "A man with a dagger came for my son," he said. "He died before he could name who paid him." Cersei's eyes glittered. "And you think that proves my guilt?" she asked. "Or does it prove you are incompetent at keeping your own child safe?" Robert's growl sounded like an animal's. He surged forward. Barristan Selmy stepped into the space between Robert and Cersei, his hand on his sword but not drawing it. "Your Grace," he warned, voice like a blade sliding from a sheath. "Do not." Robert stared at Barristan, then at Ned, then back to Cersei. His breath shook. "If you had him killed," Robert said, voice low, "I will end you." Cersei leaned forward, chains clinking softly. "You will end me," she repeated, tasting the words. "You will end the mother of your children." A silence fell so heavy it felt like snow piling on shoulders. Robert's eyes flicked, just once, to Joffrey's face, so like Cersei's in the curve of cheek and the shape of the mouth, so unlike Robert's in every line. Something in Robert's expression faltered. Doubt, perhaps, or realization trying to claw its way through denial. Cersei saw it. She always saw. Her smile sharpened. "Oh," she whispered, and the whisper was a spear. "You've begun to wonder, haven't you?" Robert's jaw clenched. "Shut your mouth." Cersei's eyes shone with triumph that was also fury. "You think you are wronged," she said softly. "You think you are betrayed. But you were never there, Robert. Not for me." Not for the children. You were in wine and in whoring and in a dead girl's name. Her voice hardened. If you want to speak of betrayal, look in the mirror. Robert's hand twitched as if he wanted to strike her, but he did not. Not because he had become kind, but because even he understood that one blow might shatter the fragile story they still needed the realm to believe. Ned's voice cut through the tension. Enough, he said. If you did not send him, then name who might. Cersei's gaze slid to him, cold. Anyone, she said. Any man who thinks killing a boy buys the favor of the crown. Any man who thinks he can sell a corpse to the highest bidder. She glanced at Robert again. You have made the world hungry, husband. Do not be surprised when it bites. Robert's breath came harsh. He stared at her as if he wanted to tear the truth out of her throat with his hands. Then he turned away abruptly, as if staying one moment longer would make him do something he could not undo. He stalked out into the night, snow catching in his beard. Ned followed, leaving Barristan to retie the tent flap with grim care. Behind the canvas, Cersei's voice came, quieter, almost tender. Yet it made Ned's spine chill all the same. They will try again, she murmured, and whether she spoke to her children or to herself, Ned could not tell. And next time, she added, they will not miss. The neck swallowed them. Pines gave way to reeds. Snow thinned into sleet, then into cold rain that made cloaks heavy and tempers short. Fog crept over the road in pale fingers, and the world became a corridor of gray where every shadow might hide a watcher. Moat Cailin rose from the swamp like a broken crown. Black stone towers leaned at odd angles, half devoured by time and moss. The wind that blew through those ruins sounded like voices arguing in an old tongue. Catelyn looked at it and felt a shiver that had nothing to do with cold. The neck had always been a boundary. Now it felt like a threshold. Eddard Stark rode at the front, his cloak dark with wet. His eyes scanned the reeds where the ground was too soft for horses to leave clear tracks. He remembered stories of crannogmen moving like ghosts through swamp, arrows appearing from mist. He remembered Howland Reed standing at his side at the Tower of Joy, small and fierce and loyal beyond reason. A shape moved in the fog, a figure on foot, barely seen. Then another, and another, small men with spears, cloaks mottled in swamp colors, faces half hidden. They did not approach as enemies. They watched as guardians. A voice called softly from the reeds.
Ned.
Ned's horse slowed. Ned turned his head, and for a moment the hardness in his face eased. Howland, he said, though the man remained mostly unseen. Howland Reed will not show himself, the voice said, calm. Not while lions travel the road. Ned's gaze flicked toward the prisoner wagons, toward the white cloaks and the spears and the covered canvas that held Cersei. He watches, Ned said. He watches, the voice agreed. And he sends word. A crannogman stepped out just enough to be seen, rain dripping from his hood. He held a small bundle, wrapped parchment sealed in plain wax, not a lord's sigil. The swamp hears things, the man said. The south stirs. Ned took the bundle. What stirs? He asked. Gold, the crannogman said simply. Riders in the riverlands. Men with lions stitched on their cloaks, moving without banners. He glanced at the wagons. They will not wait for King Robert Baratheon to reach King's Landing. Ned's jaw tightened. How soon? The crannogman's eyes were dark holes beneath his hood. Soon, he said, and closer than you think. Catelyn watched this exchange from her saddle beside Bran. Bran's small hands gripped the pommel tight. He stared at the fog as if expecting it to sprout monsters. Summer trotted near, ears up, eyes bright. Robert rode up, cloak dripping, irritation written on his face. What is this? He demanded. More whispering bogmen? Ned turned toward him. Howland Reed watches our passage, Ned said. He warns us that Lannister riders move in the Riverlands already. Robert's mouth twisted. Tywin moves, he growled. Of course he moves. His eyes went south, beyond the ruins, beyond the fog. as if he could see the rock from here and strike it with his gaze. "Let him come." Ned's tone stayed even. "He will not come like a man looking for justice," Ned said. "He will come like a man looking to seize what he believes is his." Robert's laugh was harsh. "His," he spat. "My wife, my children, his." He shook his head as if trying to fling the thought away. "He thinks he can take them back with steel." "He may try," Ned said. Robert's grip tightened on his reins. "Then we make the road bleed before he reaches us," he said. Ned looked at the swamp around them. "Here," he said quietly. "The swamp will make it bleed for us." The Crannogman's voice carried once more softer. "Howland Reed says this too," he said. "Trust no man you do not know. Trust no raven without reading it twice. And keep the boy alive." His gaze flicked toward Bran, then away. "Winter is watching." Ned felt the words settle in him like a stone. Winter is watching. The old gods were watching too, if they cared for men at all. They rode on through the fog, Moat Cailin looming behind like a warning they could not leave behind. The road south was open, but it did not feel like freedom. It felt like walking into a mouth. The raven arrived at dusk, its feathers slick with rain, its claws gripping Ned's gauntlet as if it feared being blown away. Its black eye stared at him with the calm indifference of a creature that carried kingdoms in its beak and cared nothing for the blood those kingdoms spilled. Ned broke the seal with a thumb. The wax was stamped with Winterfell's direwolf. Maester Luwin's hand was neat, precise, as if careful script could keep panic from spreading. Robert leaned in, scowling. Catelyn stood close enough to see Ned's eyes move over the lines. Barristan Selmy watched the camp perimeter, but his attention angled toward them as well. He understood that ravens were arrows too. Ned read once, then again as Howland Reed's warning urged. "Renly Baratheon has moved," Ned said aloud finally, voice low. "He has secured the Red Keep's gates with men loyal to him. He says King's Landing is restless. Rumors already crawl through Flea Bottom like rats." Robert's mouth twisted. "Rumors," he muttered. "Already." Ned's eyes narrowed as he read the next lines. "Renly says Petyr Baelish smiles and offers help," Ned continued, and even speaking Littlefinger's name made Ned's skin prickle. "And Varys says nothing but hears everything." Robert snorted. "Varys," he growled. "A spider in silk." Catelyn's fingers tightened on her cloak. "What of the Lannisters?" she asked. Ned's gaze dropped to the next passage. "Renly says House Lannister's men in the city are gathering," he said. "Gold is moving. The city watch is uncertain." His jaw clenched. "He warns that if we arrive with the Queen in chains, the city may riot before it kneels." Robert's eyes flashed. "Let it riot," he snapped. "I'll remind them who their king is." Ned looked up. "A king cannot rule ashes," he said, and his voice held more edge now. "If the city burns, you will sit on a throne of cinders." Robert's nostrils flared, but he did not argue. The raven's message had weight. King's Landing was a tinderbox. Cersei's chains were a torch. Ned unfolded a second parchment tied to the same raven's leg. A smaller strip, written in a sharper hand. His eyes tightened as he read it. "Stannis Baratheon writes," Ned said. Robert's head snapped up. "Stannis," he said, and the name carried old annoyance, old resentment. "What does he say?" Ned's voice became more formal as he read. "He says he suspected," Ned said. "He says Jon Arryn suspected." Ned's throat tightened on Jon's name. "He says the realm must have proof, not whispers. He demands that the Queen and Ser Jaime Lannister be held and brought before a lawful council." Ned's eyes flicked up. "He also says, do not trust Renly." Robert barked a bitter laugh. "Of course he says that," he muttered. "Stannis would distrust sunlight if it didn't come with a seal." Catelyn's expression tightened. "And Tywin?" she asked again, voice quiet with dread. Ned's hand went to the third parchment. Thicker, the wax stamped with a lion. The seal was unbroken. It had been attached separately, perhaps from a rider who met the raven. perhaps from a man brave enough to carry Tywin's words into a king's camp. Ned broke the lion's seal. The writing was tight, controlled, like a blade's edge. He read it once, and the camp's reign seemed to grow louder. Then he handed it to Robert without speaking. Robert's eyes scanned the lines. His face darkened. His hand crumpled the parchment, then forced itself to smooth it again, as if Robert feared losing even one word might lose him advantage. He demands the Queen returned, Robert spat. He demands Ser Jaime Lannister released. He says. Robert's voice rose, then snapped back down. He says if we do not comply, he will consider it an act of war. Catelyn's breath caught. Barristan Selmy's jaw tightened. It already is, he murmured. Robert's eyes burned. He thinks he can threaten me? Robert growled. He turned his head and roared toward the camp's edge. Bring me wine! Ned caught Robert's gaze before a servant could move. Do not, Ned said quietly. Robert's face contorted. Do not what? Do not drink your courage, Ned said. You will need your mind. Robert's laugh was sharp. My mind, he repeated, bitter. Then his expression shifted, and for a moment there was a terrible clarity in him. He moves already, Robert said. He moves in the riverlands. He moves in the city. And he moves in my bed. His eyes flicked toward the prisoner wagons. If he wants war, Robert said, voice low, I will give him a war that ends House Lannister. Ned felt the words settle like a verdict. He looked at Catelyn, at Bran huddled close, and he knew the road south had become narrower. Not because of swamps or ruins, because of men. Tyrion Lannister came to Ned's fire as if he were strolling into a feast rather than stepping into the heart of an armed camp that had put his sister in chains. Rain drummed on canvas overhead. The fire sputtered, fighting wet wood, but it gave enough light to show Tyrion's face. Sharp features, mismatched eyes, a mouth that looked made for cleverness and cruelty in equal measure. Catelyn Stark's posture went rigid the moment she saw him. Her hand tightened on Bran's shoulder, reflexive. Bran stared at Tyrion with the wary fascination of a boy who had learned that small men could still be dangerous. Lady Catelyn Stark, Tyrion said with a small bow, his tone almost polite. My prince. His gaze flicked to Bran and softened, only slightly. I am glad you live. Catelyn's eyes were cold. Should I thank you? She asked. Tyrion's mouth quirked. You may, he said, but it would be dishonest. I did not save him. His gaze slid to Ned. Lord Eddard Stark, he said. May I speak with you? Ned studied him. You are not in chains, Ned observed. Tyrion lifted his hands, showing empty wrists. No one bothered, he said lightly. Perhaps they thought the gods had already punished me sufficiently. His eyes gleamed. Or perhaps King Robert Baratheon believes me useful. From the shadows beyond the fire, Robert's voice came, rough. You are useful, he growled. You are a lion I can hold while the big lion decides whether to bite. Tyrion turned his head toward Robert without losing his smile. I am honored to be considered a hostage rather than a meal, he said. Robert snorted. Ned gestured toward a log near the fire. Tyrion sat, rain dripping from the edge of his cloak. He did not look comfortable. He looked alert, as if even sitting were a negotiation. I assume you came to plead, Ned said. Tyrion's eyes widened in mock offense. Plead? He repeated. No, no. I came to offer you something much more valuable. He leaned forward slightly. Clarity. Catelyn's lips thinned. Clarity from House Lannister is usually a blade aimed at the throat, she said. Tyrion glanced at her. And yet you listen, he said gently, which suggests you understand the same thing I do. His gaze returned to Ned. This road you travel is already lined with dead men you have not met yet. Ned's voice stayed even. Tywin Lannister threatens war, he said. Tyrion nodded. Tywin Lannister does not threaten, he said softly. He informs. He glanced toward Bran. Someone already tried to kill the boy, I hear. Catelyn's fingers tightened. "Yes," she hissed. And the man died before he could speak. Tyrion's expression did not change, but his eyes sharpened. "Convenient," he murmured. Ned's gaze flicked to him. "Are you implying?" "I imply nothing," Tyrion said, holding up a hand. "I observe. Men who want secrets buried often bury the men who carry them." He leaned back slightly. "But let us speak plainly. You have taken my sister and my brother. You have taken my niece and nephews." His voice softened, strangely. "They are children, whatever their parentage." Robert's laugh was harsh in the dark. "Parentage," he spat. "A polite word for adultery and incest." Tyrion's eyes flicked toward Robert. "Yes," he said. "And polite words are sometimes all that keeps swords from sliding out of sheaths." He looked at Ned again. "You want to bring them to King's Landing and hold a lawful judgment," he said. "You want the realm to see you as righteous rather than vengeful." Ned did not deny it. Tyrion's gaze slid toward the damp darkness where the road waited. "Tywin Lannister will not allow that judgment to happen on your terms," he said. "He will force battle before you reach the city. Or he will force the city to break before you can use it." Catelyn's voice was tight. "What would you have us do?" she demanded. Tyrion's mouth quirked again, but the humor did not reach his eyes. "Use me," he said simply. Ned's gaze narrowed. "How?" "Send me," Tyrion said, "to my father, with terms." He spread his hands. "He will not kill me, not because he loves me. Gods know he does not, but because my death would make him weaker, not stronger." Tyrion's eyes glittered. "And because if he kills me, the realm will know he values pride over blood, and even lions understand the cost of that." Robert's voice came, low and dangerous. "And what terms?" he asked. Tyrion turned his gaze to Robert, unflinching. "Terms that keep the realm from burning," he said. "Hold my sister and Jaime Lannister. Hold the children, but do not parade them through the streets like trophies. Bring them into the Red Keep quietly. Convene the small council with Stannis Baratheon present. Give Tywin Lannister a path to bend the knee without losing all his face." He smiled, sharp. "Lions care about face almost as much as stags care about antlers." Robert's expression was unreadable in the firelight. "You ask me to spare him humiliation," Robert said. "I ask you to spare the realm," Tyrion replied. "Tywin Lannister is not the kind of enemy you want to corner without an exit. Cornered beasts bite harder." Ned considered him. Tyrion spoke like a man who had lived his life watching his family devour enemies and each other. There was realism in it. There was also poison. Tyrion's help would not be free. Catelyn's gaze stayed hard. "And what do you gain?" she demanded. Tyrion's smile turned almost weary. "Survival," he said. "And perhaps," his eyes flicked briefly toward Bran, "a chance to keep children from being crushed under the wheels of their parents' sins." Ned felt the decision settle in him like rain soaking cloth. Heavy, unavoidable. He looked at Robert. Robert stared into the fire. When he spoke, his voice was low, rough. "I will not send a lion to negotiate with a lion," he said. Tyrion tilted his head. "Then you will fight a lion," he said quietly. "And lions are very good at war." The rain hissed on the fire. The night pressed in. And Ned Stark understood that the realm's fate might hinge on whether he could trust the one Lannister who seemed to see the truth as clearly as he did. The first blood came not with banners, but with mist. They rode into it after dawn, the road softening beneath hooves as the land changed. The air smelled different. Less pine, more damp earth, more river. The trees thinned. The sky hung low and pale, as if the gods themselves were watching through a wet cloth. Then shapes appeared ahead, moving in the fog, riders slow and deliberate. Jory Castle's hand rose at once. "Hold," he called, voice sharp. The column slowed. Spears angled. Swords came half-drawn, a whisper of steel. The riders emerged fully as the fog thinned. Red cloaks, gold thread, lion sigils. Lannister outriders, a dozen at least. their horses sleek, their faces hard. Bows were already strung. Spear points glimmered dull in the morning. Their leader rode forward a few paces. He wore a helm shaped like a lion's head, the mouth open as if roaring. "In the name of Lord Tywin Lannister," he called, "release Queen Cersei Lannister and Ser Jaime Lannister at once." Robert's horse surged forward, and only Ned's hand on the reins kept him from charging. Robert's face was a thunderhead. "In the name of your lord," Robert roared back, "you will kneel and beg forgiveness for threatening your king." The rider did not kneel. "Lord Tywin Lannister does not beg," he said. "And neither do we." Barristan Selmy drew his sword. The blade slid free with a sound like truth spoken aloud. "You address the king," Barristan said, voice cold, "and you stand armed in his road. That is treason." The Lannister rider's horse shifted. "We come for our blood," he said. "We do not seek war." Robert barked a laugh. "You brought bows," he snarled. "You brought spears. You brought lions to my road. You brought war with you." Behind Robert, Ned saw Catelyn pull Bran closer, shielding him behind the flank of a horse. Bran's eyes were wide, his breath coming too fast. Summer growled low, hackles rising. Jaime Lannister twisted in his bonds, his horse sidestepping. Ned saw the flicker in Jaime's eyes, not fear, but opportunity. Jaime's gaze darted toward the mist, toward the Lannister riders, measuring distance like a man measuring a jump. The Lannister rider lifted a hand. "We will take them," he said, and the fog seemed to freeze. Ned's voice was calm, but it carried. "You will not," he said. The rider's helm turned toward him. "Then you choose blood," he said. He snapped his hand down. The first arrow hissed through mist and struck a Northman in the throat. The man fell without a sound, hands clutching at air, blood dark against pale morning. Then the world exploded. Robert roared and drove his horse forward. Northern men surged, spears thrusting. The Lannister outriders loosed arrows in a dark volley, and men screamed. Hoofs churned mud.
"Stilrang."
Barristan Selmy moved like the legend men whispered about. He rode straight into the line, blade flashing. A Lannister spear stabbed toward his chest. He turned it aside and cut the man's arm near off at the elbow. Blood sprayed. The rider toppled, screaming. Jory Castle bellowed orders, driving men to form a shield wall around the wagons. "Protect the prisoners," he shouted. "Protect the boy." Catelyn pressed Bran to the ground behind a horse, her body over his. Bran's face was streaked with mud. He stared up at her, lips trembling. "Mother," he whispered. "Do not look," she hissed, and covered his head with her cloak. Jaime's horse reared as an arrow struck near its hoof. Jaime yanked hard on the reins with bound hands, trying to twist his mount toward the Lannister line. A Lannister rider broke through the melee, reaching for Jaime's rope with a hooked blade. Ned saw it. "Barristan," he shouted. Barristan Selmy turned, saw Jaime's movement, and spurred his horse. He cut down the rider reaching for Jaime with one swift slash across the throat. The man fell gurgling. Jaime's eyes flashed, frustration, fury. He jerked again, but Jory Castle slammed his horse into Jaime's, driving him back into the center. Robert crashed into the Lannister leader like a hammer. His fist, huge, gloved, caught the lion-helmed man across the face. The helm flew off. The man's nose broke in a spray of blood. Robert grabbed him by the collar and hauled him from his saddle with brute strength, throwing him into the mud. "You threaten me?" Robert bellowed, and his voice was madness and glory both. He raised his fist again. The Lannister man spat blood into the mud and laughed. Broken. "The lion will come," he choked. Robert's fist came down. The laugh ended in a wet crack. Ned's stomach turned, not from squeamishness but from understanding. This was not a skirmish. This was a declaration written in blood. Within minutes it was over. The Lannister outriders broke and fled into the mist, leaving bodies and broken arrows behind. Northern men did not chase far. Ned had ordered discipline, not slaughter. But discipline did not bring back the dead. A Northman lay on his back, eyes open to the gray sky, blood soaking the road. Another clutched his leg, screaming. The bones snapped. Robert stood in the mud, breathing hard, blood on his glove, eyes blazing. He looked south. "They have chosen," he said, voice low. "They have chosen war." Ned looked at the dead and felt the weight settle in him. "So have we," he said quietly. The city appeared like a bruise on the horizon. King's Landing spread beneath the red keep in a sprawl of stone and smoke. A beast curled around its own hunger. Even from the road, Ned could smell its salt, sewage, sweat, and the faint sweetness of baking bread that made the filth feel more cruel. The red keep rose above it all, red walls damp under cloud, towers cutting into the sky like teeth. The column tightened as they approached. Men closed ranks around the prisoner wagons. Spears angled outward. White cloaks rode close, eyes scanning rooftops and alleys as if arrows might leap from the city itself. Catelyn rode beside Bran, her cloak pulled close. Bran stared at the city with wide eyes. He had imagined King's Landing as songs described it. Bright banners, glittering knights, the realm's heart beating proud. Instead it looked like it might swallow them whole. Sansa's face had gone pale. She clutched her reins too tightly, eyes fixed on the red keep as if waiting for it to transform into a fairy tale again. Arya looked as if she wanted to turn around and ride back north without stopping. Robert rode at the front, posture stiff. He stared at the city as if it had personally betrayed him. The blood from the skirmish had dried on his glove, dark and crusted. At the gates, Renly Baratheon waited with a line of city watch. He wore green and gold, his smile quick and practiced, but Ned saw tension beneath it. The way Renly's eyes flicked toward the wagons, the way his men gripped their spears. Behind them, small folk gathered in cautious knots, whispering, craning necks to see the king's return. Renly rode forward a few paces. "Brother," he called, and his voice carried bright despite the heavy air. "You return sooner than expected." Robert's laugh was harsh. "The North had surprises," he said, and there was no humor in it. Renly's gaze slid to Ned. "Lord Eddard Stark," he said. His smile did not reach his eyes. "You look like a man who has been carrying secrets." Ned did not answer. He only nodded once, curt. Renly's gaze dropped toward the covered wagons. "Is it true?" he asked softly, for Robert's ears only. "The whispers." Robert's eyes burned. "Open the gates," Robert ordered. "And keep your tongue behind your teeth until you are in my council chamber." Renly swallowed and nodded, the smile fading. He gestured sharply, and the city watch moved to pull the gates open. As the great doors groaned, the city's noise spilled out shouts, hawkers, the clatter of carts, the distant cries of gulls. The sound hit Bran like a wave. He flinched. They rode in. Heads turned. Eyes widened. People whispered the king's name like a prayer or a curse. When the prisoner wagons rolled through, guarded by spears and white cloaks, the whispers sharpened, turning into a hiss that ran along the street like fire through dry grass. From a balcony above, a pale man in silks watched with a calm smile. Varys, soft as a spider's belly, eyes bright with secrets. Farther down, near a cluster of courtiers, Petyr Baelish stood with a hand on a gold-embroidered doublet, smiling as if the realm's upheaval were a joke only he understood. Ned saw both of them and felt a chill deeper than the cold rain of the neck. The swamp had been honest danger. The city was a different kind. Robert's voice rumbled back to Ned as they rode. "Straight to the Red Keep," he said. "No detours, no welcomes, no feasts."
Ned nodded.
"As you command." Renly fell into place at Robert's side, his smile returning for the crowd, his eyes tight with calculation. "We must move carefully," he murmured, low enough that only Robert and Ned could hear. "The city watch is divided. Gold speaks loudly here." Robert's jaw clenched. "Let it speak," he growled. "I'll answer it with steel." Catelyn leaned close to Bran. "Do not look at anyone. she whispered. "Do not speak. Hold on." Bran swallowed. His hands were cold on the reins. He looked up at the red keep looming ahead, and he thought of the broken tower at Winterfell, the one climb that had changed everything. The red keep felt like a taller tower, one with more shadows and sharper edges. As they passed beneath the city's walls deeper into the heart of it, Ned felt the realm's eyes on them, hungry, fearful, eager for spectacle. He kept his face still and his mind sharper than any sword. Because in King's Landing, the first battle was never fought with steel. It was fought with smiles.